Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chats. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Friday finance edition of Wealth Coffee Chat. So, why did the bank robber take a bath before robbing the bank? He wanted to make a clean getaway. So, we've reached the end of another week, and today I actually wanted to have a conversation around purchasing property under your personal name and under a trust. Have you ever been in a situation where you've gotten to the point where you've maximized your lending capacity? We've got plenty of equity and we want to continue our journey of acquiring investment properties. Now, at your maximum servicing capacity means that banks aren't going to lend you any more money, which means it becomes very difficult to be able to purchase your next investment property. Now, with a bit of planning, we could actually set up a structure and a process that will be able to help purchase the next investment property, although it may not actually be under your personal name. And let's say recycle your borrowing capacity. Well, actually, I will show you what I actually mean when it comes to purchasing under a different entity. So if you purchase a property under a trust. Now, usually when we purchase property, it's under an individual name. We have our savings and we use it to purchase our first property, which is usually our home. Now what happens is your home loan, you start building equity in your home. And now we use this equity to purchase your next investment property, your first investment property. Now, usually we're looking at about an 80% loan with a 20% deposit. Now, in a different scenario, you could take the 20% equity that you have here and lend it to a trust. Now, the trust can borrow 80% against your actual income. So you, as the individual, actually guarantee the loan for the trust. Now, once the trust has a loan, it's going to receive its rent and it's probably going to make a loss. So what we want to do during this, what we want to do is be able to wait until this trust is neutral. So it doesn't actually need to make money in order for us to be able to leverage of it. As soon as it's neutral, what we can do is we can ask our accountant for a letter. Now, what this letter states is that this trust here is self-sufficient, which means it doesn't need any income from you personally in order for it to maintain the repayments and to cover all its expenses. Once the trust reaches that point, then the loan that you had at 80%, and maybe it could be less, so you could accelerate how fast you can purchase your next property. Once it's neutral, this loan here, right, no longer needs to be declared against your liability. So what that means is that debt that originally started under your personal name because you needed to guarantee it in order for the trust to be able to purchase the property, no longer sits against your personal name, which means that you could go through the whole thing again. Now, this process can take anywhere between, let's just say, 2 to 5 years, depending on how much you borrow and how much you put in as a deposit. But during this time, you can focus on paying off the 20% or the 30% deposit, which means now these funds are then available for trust to purchase the next investment property. As you can see from that, when you actually decide to use this particular model, is up to you will need to talk to your professionals to work out the roadmap for that. Because the downside for the trust is there is no negative gearing. And you can't pass loss from the trust into your personal name. There's also capital gains concessions. So either when it's in a trust, you don't get any additional capital gains concessions when you sell the property. But if your focus is long-term play and you want to keep the properties within the trust, as soon as that trust becomes neutrally geared, you can then use your income to borrow to purchase the next property. Now, what we can't do is we can't go back to the same trust to borrow. Because if we go back to the same trust, then that liability then has to be declared against the trust, which means your income then needs to be used to confirm that existing loan, you can service the existing loan as well as new loan that you're looking at borrowing. So what you do is you actually set up a second trust and go through the process again. Now, setting up trust has cost to it. You've most likely set up a corporate trustee, which means asset fees to set up the trust, fees for the accountants to do tax returns for the trust, which are actually slightly more than just the individual. So if we sit and work out a roadmap, in some situations, you could start with maybe your home and maybe one investment property to take advantage of the negative gearing. And then the second investment property, you could start using the trust structures with the understanding that it is actually going to take some time for the trust to get neutrally geared in order for you to be able to go again. Now, I know that the positive team, especially the coaches, have a great document, like a great spreadsheet, the way to work out at what point your property will most likely be neutral, which means that is the point that you could look at borrowing again using your existing income. During that time, you set up a goal to be able to pay off the deposit. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go back to the trust and borrow more money, because if you borrow more money, no longer will be neutrally geared. Even though the trust loan would have decreased as you're paying it, and the value of the property would have increased. Because extending the loan means it takes longer to get to neutral, and from a lending perspective, you can't then you can't recycle your income again. So this is a scenario I've actually been talking to a few clients this week, and it's really interesting to be able to map all this out, so that for a lot of clients who believe that they're at their capacity, we now can have a potential solution for them to be able to continue investing, continue growing their investment portfolio. Morning, James. Thanks for joining me. Morning, Sonia. Morning, Jeff. So yeah, hopefully I have shared some, have provided some thoughts around potentially where your next investment property purchase could be, and whether it would be under a trust or under your personal name. And let's unlock, the ability for those who've reached their borrowing capacity to be able to purchase their next investment property. Have a talk to your broker and see if this structure is going to be possible for you for your next property purchase. The key to all of this is actually sitting down and mapping it out, because you don't want to borrow up to your capacity and then realize that you can't use purchasing it under a structure. So again, run through the scenarios of if you purchase one investment property, is the next one the equity release and the ability to borrow for the loan? Will that hit your capacity? And if so, if purchasing under the trust is going to enable you to go again in a couple of years, map that all out. Going forward, coming up with financial strategies like this will enable you to actually increase how many properties you can have in your property portfolio, and how often you can acquire investment properties. Hope that has been helpful. I wish everybody a wonderful Friday, an amazing weekend, and I will catch up with you all next week.